Welcome to my live teaching learning session of BECC 131 Introductory Economics, Microeconomics. This is Introduction of Economics and Economy. In this block 1 and unit 1, we will study about what is the meaning of economics and what are the different branches of economics and how we can distinguish between the branches of economics. Scarcity and choice, what are the central problems of an economy? All these concepts we will study in today's session. So this is basically the introduction of microeconomics or introduction of economics and economy. The topics in today's session, we will discuss about all these things like introduction, scarcity and choice, meaning of production, central problems of an economy, like what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. The problem of growth, what is this problem of growth, and how we can overcome this problem. Choice between private goods and public goods, merit goods problem, production possibility curve, PPC, which is also known as production possibility frontier, and resources allocation, how allocation of resources and how these resources, when resources are limited and wants are unlimited, how these create problem or central problems of an economy. How we can solve this problem? Resources allocation in a mixed economy and economic methodology and economic laws. Next topic is inductive and deductive reasoning. What is the difference between inductive and deductive reasoning? Next is equilibrium. Next is positive and normative. These are also the branches of economics. Micro, macro, these are the main basic branch of economics. Stock and flow, what is the difference between stock and flow? Static economy and dynamic economy. And after that, we can conclude from the above discussion. So let us start from the first topic, introduction. This paper name is BECC 131, Introduction to Economics and Economy. In this, first of all, we must have to know about what is the meaning of economics. Economics is called generally a social science because economics is not a pure science. Economics is not a natural science. Economics always deals with human beings because it deals with social behavior of the country people. That's why economics is called a social science because its relation is with human beings. And in human beings, we include all producers and consumers. Producers are those persons who produces goods and services, and consumers are those persons who consume goods and services for their satisfaction of their wants. So economics has been variously defined. As summarized by Samuelson, some of the definitions seeks to explain that economics. Economics analyzes how a society's institution and technology affects price and the allocation of resources among different uses. Economics always explore the behavior of the financial market, including interest rate and stock price. This type of economics which deals with financial market, interest rate and stock prices, that is called financial economics. Economics examines the distribution of income and suggests ways that the poor can be helped without harming the performance of the economy. Next is economics studies about the business cycles and examine how monetary policy and fiscal policy can be used to moderate the swings in unemployment and inflation. It means economics is a science, not a pure science, not a natural science. It's a social science which deals with human beings. According to Adam Smith, economics is a science of wealth. Adam Smith is known as father of economics, who gave the first definition of economics in 1776. His book name was Wealth of Nation, an inquiry into the nature and causes of wealth of nation. He firstly described that economics is a science of wealth. Economics is a science of wealth. In this, we study about what is money, how we can earn money, how we can spend money, and how we can generate money. So, if we study about money and different aspects of money, that is called economics according to Adam Smith. But this definition is not appropriate or accurate because this definition include only one aspect of economics and ignores other aspects of economics like social behavior and welfare of the country people and alternative use of the limited resources for satisfying unlimited wants of the country people and how whole economy can get benefit from the allocation of resources in a optimal way. So economics is defined by so many economists like Adam Smith, Marshall, Robertson, Samuelson, etc. So economics is generally a social science which deals with human behavior. Consumer always want maximum satisfaction through minimum spending and producer always want maximum output through minimum cost. When both can satisfy their needs or wants, then we can say that social welfare will be held in the economy. So economics is a social science which deals with human behavior. Next is scarcity and choice. This is the most important thing in microeconomics. Scarcity. Scarcity is a problem. Scarcity tells us that resources are always available in limited quantity, but wants are unlimited. You know that human wants are endless. There is no end of human wants, but the resources which can fulfill human wants, they are limited. These resources are like land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. In each and every country, resources are always available in limited quantity. We can say that the supply of resources are less than demand. Demand remains always more than supply. Its reason is that population is increasing. That's why demand will definitely increase. But supply of factors can't be increased. For example, land. Land is gifted by nature. It can't be increased or decreased according to the human needs. Labor. Labor is also scarce in some countries and some have very abundant labor. But in some countries, labor is more, capital is less. And in other countries, capital is more, but labor is less. We can't say that each and every factor of production is abundant in each and every country. So, resources for satisfying human wants are always limited. Collectively, we want more than we can produce with our limited resources. Economics help to determine the use of scarce resources to satisfy the most important wants because resources are desirable but scarce. We must take choice. We must make choice between what want we have to satisfy first and what want we can satisfy later on. So economics is the study of choice. And scarcity and choice both are interrelated with each other. When there is a shortage of resources, then we have to make a choice. If there is no scarcity, no problem of choice will arise. It means both problems are twins and always go together. If there is a scarcity, then problem of choice will arise. No scarcity, no choice. And scarcity also causes price. If there is a large scarcity of any commodity, then higher will be the price of that commodity. If there is no scarcity, then price will be lower. For example, diamond is very costly, but water is very cheap. Its reason is that diamond is very scarce and very limited available, but water is abundant. Around 70% of the land area is covered by water, which thing is available in abundant quantity, that will be available at lower price. And if anything which is very rare or scarce or limited, that will be available at higher price. So scarcity causes price. Higher scarcity means higher will be the price. Lower scarcity means lower will be the price. So scarcity we can define that if supply of resources are less than their demand, that will create the problem of scarcity. And if we have limited resources, then we have to make a choice in between of limited resources and unlimited wants. That is called economics, which deals with the study of choice. Next is choice we can show with the help of this production possibility curve. With the given possibilities of production outcomes, countries need to decide which combination of good to produce. For example, a country can make a choice between a combination A, which implies more of commodity Y and less of commodity X. And either a company firm can choose or country can choose B combination in which unit of Y commodity is falling and unit of X commodity is rising. So we have to make a choice which option we will select, A or B. If we choose A, then we will produce more unit of Y than X. And if we choose B combination, then Y unit will decrease from 10 to 7 and X unit will increase from 8 to 12. So this is called choice. And choice can be explained with the help of production possibility curve. Now next is, what are the basic problems of an economy? Our basic problems are, number one is limited resources. Limited resources means scarce resources. And unlimited wants means human wants are endless. They have no end. Their desires, their wants, their needs are endless. That is why needs or wants are always called unlimited. And resources have alternative uses. We can use different available resources in so many works and to fulfill so many wants of the country people. For example, electricity can be used for different purposes. Milk can be used for different purposes. Why we are using one commodity in different purposes? Because resources are limited. That's why we have to find out some alternatives use of that resources for satisfying unlimited human wants. So these are the three main causes behind the basic problems or problem of choice. Why problem of choice arise? It has three causes. One is limited resources. Second is unlimited wants. And third is alternative use of the resources. So this is known as basic problem of an economy, and it has three causes: unlimited wants, limited resources or scarce resources, and alternative use of the resources. Next is scarcity and opportunity cost. You know that scarcity is a situation that results from the fact that we don't have the ability to satisfy our unlimited wants or all of our wants. So, scarcity arises when supply of any factor of production is less than its demand. Scarcity is a situation when we don't have the ability to fulfill or satisfy all the wants of the country people. And opportunity cost is the next best alternative foregone. Opportunity cost is the highest valued next best alternative that we sacrifice. The example of opportunity cost is that you know that opportunity cost is that cost in which we have to forgone one thing for getting another thing. There is a rule that if we want to gain something, we have to lose something. It means we have to put opportunity cost. If we want to fulfill our one desire, then we have to sacrifice the other desire because resources are limited. So, opportunity cost can be defined the best alternative that is foregone because a particular course of action is taken. The cost of passing up the next best choice when making a decision. For example, watching TV instead of doing homework. It's an opportunity cost. Here we are watching TV. What we are sacrificing, what we are foregone, but we have to foregone here homework. You lose the benefit of homework. You have $10 to spend. All the alternatives are forfeited. The next best choice, second alternative, is used when calculating opportunity cost. If we have a particular land area, either we can grow wheat on that land area. If we produce wheat, it will give us 10,000 rupees. If we produce rice, it will give us 15,000 rupees. If we produce sugarcane, then it will give us 18,000 rupees. And if we produce peanuts, then it will give us 20,000 rupees. Then what is the best option of land? If we use land in peanuts, then we will get more, like 20,000. So if producer chooses to produce more peanuts on that particular land area, then producer has to sacrifice other three options: wheat, rice, and sugarcane. That is called opportunity cost. In each and everything, we have to put some opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is also known as transfer earning. So, opportunity cost is that cost. It is also known as best alternative which we have to forgone for taking one action or for taking one option. Next is production. What is the meaning of production? Production means any activity which creates value is production. In other words, production is transformation of input like land, labor, capital, entrepreneur into output or such as goods and services. Production means it's a process in which raw material can be converted into finished goods. You know that agriculture provides raw material to the industrial sector, and industrial sector produce goods and services with the help of raw material which is provided by agriculture sector. So production is the transformation of raw material to finished goods or inputs to output. For example, transporting sand, operating a jeweler store, drilling for oil, recruiting new employees, designing a system to measure air pollution, producing biscuits, cultivation, trading, and so on. All these things are called production. So production is any activity which create value is called production. Next is factors of production. Factors of productions are basically four. One is land, second is labor, third is capital, fourth is enterprise. These four factors of productions are very important, and these factors play very important role in production of goods and services in all types of economies like developed country, developing country, underdeveloped country, capitalist economy, socialist economy, and mixed economy. All these factors of productions work together to produce goods and services. And all these factors of productions are scarce or limited available in each and every country. For example, land. Land is a natural resource which is gifted by God or by nature, that is limited in supply. Its supply remains always inelastic, which can't be changed. And the labor, in labor we include human skills and efforts. Manpower or human beings are abundant in India, but skilled labor and trained labor is scarce. Capital. Capital means fixed capital assets like machines, equipments, materials, etc. In developed country, capital is abundant, but labor is scarce. In developing countries, labor is abundant, but capital is scarce. And fourth is enterprises or entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur is a person who organize all those factors of production and undertaking production activities. So these four factors of productions are very necessary for producing any type of goods and services in a country. Without these four factors of production, we can't produce any type of goods and services. And these factors are always available in limited quantity in each and every country, either it may be developed, developing, or underdeveloped. Next is central problems of an economy. Central problems, generally called like what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. These are three central problems which always arise due to scarcity of resources. The main root cause of all these problems are scarcity of resources. And these central problems always arise in each and every country. This problem is also with allocation of resources. Central problems in an economy deals with making choice between what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. What to produce problem is related with what type of goods and services should be produced and in what quantity. When producer want to produce goods and services, he has to make a choice that what type of goods he will produce and in what quantity. Why this problem arises? Due to scarcity of resources. A producer has very limited resources like land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. And he can use these limited resources in a single commodity production in more quantity. For example, if we want to produce two commodities, one is related with consumer good and other is related with capital goods. If producer choose to produce more units of consumer good, then he has to sacrifice the more unit of capital goods. As well as consumer goods production will increase, capital goods production will fall. Why? Its reason is that resources are limited and we can't use limited resources in both commodities production simultaneously, and we can't get equal level of production from both commodities. So deciding to allocate resources for production between different goods like necessary goods or luxurious goods, etc., or capital goods or consumer goods, etc. If we produce more consumer goods, then capital goods production will be less. And if we produce more capital goods, consumer goods production will be less. Reason is scarcity of resources. And we know that all resources are not equally efficient to produce both the commodities in same quantity. That's why if we want to increase the production of one thing, then we must have to sacrifice the production of other thing. Second, and this problem can be solved very easily, but to produce problem, if in a country there is a war period, then country will produce more capital goods and less consumer goods. And if there is a peaceful time period, then country will produce more consumer goods and less capital goods. So this is the problem of what to produce. Second problem is how to produce. This how to produce problem decide what type of goods and services should be produced. We have decided in first problem, but how these goods can be produced. We will make a choice in second problem, how to produce. How to produce, this problem is generally related with choice of technologies. There are two types of technique of production. One is labor intensive, other is capital intensive. In some countries, labor is abundant, but capital is less. And in other countries or developed countries, capital is abundant, but labor is less. So producer has to make a choice. What type of technology he will use to produce goods and services. You know that producer always aim to produce more at minimum cost. Means producer always want to gain maximum profit at minimum cost. So producer will decide how to produce. If in our country like in India labor is abundant, so labor is available at a very cheaper price and capital is very rare or scarce, that capital price will be higher. So we have to use more labor intensive technology rather than capital intensive technology. But for USA economy, capital is abundant, labor is less. So in USA, capital intensive technology is more appropriate to produce goods and services. So this is the problem of how to produce, in which we have to make a choice in between of technologies of production like labor intensive or capital intensive. If we use more labor intensive technology, then we will use less capital intensive technology. And if a country choose capital intensive technology, then that country will use less labor intensive technology. Third problem is for whom to produce. For whom to produce is also related with distribution of resources. For whom to produce? You know that producer always produce goods and services only for those consumers who have purchasing power or who are able to buy. Producer have to make a choice in between of different class of the society, such as real rich person or poor person. Producer always produce goods and services only for those consumer who are able to buy or who have purchasing power to buy. This problem is also related with distribution of income. You know that there are four factors of production: land, labor, capital, entrepreneur. The reward for using land is rent. Reward for labor is wages. Reward for capital is interest. And reward for entrepreneurship is profit. These all factors of production get reward in form of rent, interest, wages, and profit. If the distribution of income in a country is equal, then all country people will get income, their demand will be higher, producer will produce more. And if distribution of income is unequal, then society will divide it into two categories. One is rich, other is poor. And class struggle and haves or haves not, the difference between these people, rich or poor, the gap will increase and the demand will fall because rich will be very few but poor person will be more, and demand for majority like poor person will fall. So distribution of income decides for whom to produce. If distribution of income is equal, production will be for all. It means producer will produce for all consumers, or production will be in large quantity. But if distribution of income is unequal, then producer will produce only for rich, not for poor. So when poor will be available in large quantity and rich will be few, then production will be definitely less or decrease. So this is the problem of for whom to produce. These are three problems which is known as central problems of an economy. What to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. Now next is what to know about production possibility curve. Production possibility curve shows different possibilities or different combinations of two goods that can be produced with the help of given resources and given technology. Production possibility curve shows different combinations of two commodities that can be produced with the help of available given resources like land, labor, capital, entrepreneur, and given technology. This curve is also known as production possibility frontier. This curve, another name is production possibility boundary, and other name is transformation curve. So production possibility curve is known by different names like production possibility curve, production possibility boundary, production possibility frontier, and transformation curve. The points show how much of each good will produce when resources shift from one commodity to another commodity or one combination to another combination, thus impacting more production of one good and less of the other. If we produce one commodity in large and other in less, uh, that is the reason of scarcity. The main purpose or main reason behind this is scarcity of resources. It does not indicate, and PPC is generally always concave to the origin. It does not indicate how much of each good should be produced, but the production sacrificed needed to make more of the other good. Here, A to D curve is known as production possibility curve, which shows different combinations of two goods that can be produced by the producer with the help of given technology and given resources. If we are fully utilizing all the available resources, then we can produce different combinations of two goods. If we produce more unit of good A, then we will produce less unit of good B. A point shows that we are producing only good A. Here the production of good B is 0. And point D shows that we are producing maximum unit of good B and the good A unit is 0 at this D point. And if we join this A to D point, then we can get production possibility curve. Here E point, which is located inside this PPC, that is showing underutilizing of resources or underutilization of resources. And the point F is showing overutilization of resources. So E point is showing all resources are not fully utilized, and F point, which is outside this PPC curve, is showing that overproduction, which is not possible because we have limited resources, more of good, both goods can't be produced with current resources or with available resources. And A point is showing that we are producing all units of good A, and here good B production is none or nil. And B point shows that here we are producing only good B, and the production of A good is 0. And the shape of this PPC is always concave to the origin. Why this PPC is concave to the origin? Its main reason is marginal opportunity cost. The reason behind this concave to the origin curve is marginal opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is next best alternative for gone cost, and marginal opportunity cost tells us that how much we have to sacrifice of one commodity for getting one more additional unit of one another commodity. For example, if we are producing two goods like good X and good Y, if we are increasing the unit of good X like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then we must have to sacrifice the unit of good Y like 15, 14, 12, 9 and 5. If we take the ratio in between of these two goods like loss of Y upon gain of X or delta Y upon delta X, that is called marginal opportunity cost. If marginal opportunity cost is increasing like 1 raised to 1, 2 raised to 1, 3 raised to 1, 4 raised to 1, 5 raised to 1. This is the ratio of increasing trend. Then PPC will be concave to the origin. If marginal opportunity cost is declining or diminishing, then PPC curve will be convex to the origin. And if marginal opportunity cost is constant, then PPC will be a straight line curve. So the slope of PPC depends upon marginal opportunity cost. Next is production possibility frontier. In short form, we can explain this diagram and its definition also. Production possibility frontier is a graphical presentation of various combination or different combinations of two goods or two products or services using almost same and finite raw material for production. What is the assumption of PPC? There are three assumptions. One is technological infrastructure or setup remains unchanged. Second is here we are taking only the different combinations of two goods, not more than two goods. So PPC explain the different combinations of two commodities, not more than that. And third is both product under study have an opposite relationship with each other. Means if we increase the unit of one commodity, we must have to sacrifice the unit of other commodity. It means as well as production of X increases, production of Y decreases. So there is an inverse relationship, opposite relationship with each other. So this is the assumption of PPC. And graphically, how we can present it? Production possibility frontier is always a downward sloping curve. This curve slope is negative because of opposite relationship between two products. And two products we can take one product on x-axis and other on y-axis. And relation we can show economic growth, Pareto efficiency, opportunity cost, and law of diminishing marginal utility. All these concepts are related with PPC. Economic growth also related with PPC. Pareto efficiency also related with PPC. Opportunity cost is the responsible main cause of slope of PPC. PPC slope is always concave to the origin, and the main responsible cause is opportunity cost, which is next best alternative for gone cost. And fourth is law of diminishing marginal utility. Law of diminishing marginal utility curve is always downward sloping because it shows inverse relationship between number of units and the satisfaction which we derive from that commodity. So if as well as the number of unit increases, our satisfaction start falling. So there is an inverse relationship between units and satisfaction level. Now, interrelation is producing any combination of units on the graph. If we are producing any combination and all the points which lies on this PPC curve, that point is called fully utilization of resources. So all producing any combination of units on this graph is known as fully utilization of resources or fully efficient resources. If any point which lies inside this curve or below the graph are taken, that shows less or underutilization of resources. And any point which is above this equilibrium or is PPC curve, that is showing overproduction out of the capacity production, which is known as unattainable. So inside the point which lies inside this PPC curve, it shows attainable and underutilization of resources, and any point which lies outside this PPC curve, that shows unattainable combination and overutilization of resources. But PPC, all the points lies on this curve, shows fully or efficient utilization of resources. Now next is the shapes of PPC. You know that PPC curve slope always depends upon opportunity cost. And if opportunity cost is increasing, then PPC curve slope will be concave to the origin. If opportunity cost is diminishing or decreasing, then curve shape will be convex to the origin. And if PPC is a straight line curve, means opportunity cost is constant or fixed, or ratio remains same, like 1 raised to 1, 1 raised to 1, 1 raised to 1. For example, if we take 1 cup of a tea, then we will sacrifice 1 cup of coffee. Ratio is 1 raised to 1. If we take 2 cup of tea, then we will sacrifice 2 cup of coffee. Ratio will be 1 raised to 1. If we take 3 cup of tea, then we will sacrifice 3 cup of coffee. Ratio will be 1 raised to 1. So if the ratio remains always same rate say gain, and the loss of or sacrifice is also by same ratio, then it will be a straight line curve. So opportunity cost can be increasing, can be decreasing, or constant. So increasing opportunity cost, in this case, curve will be concave to the origin due to increasing marginal opportunity cost. It is also known as marginal rate of transformation. And constant opportunity cost, in case of this, curve will be a straight line. First diagram is actual shape of PPC, which is always concave to the origin due to increasing marginal opportunity cost. If ratio is 1 raised to 1, 2 raised to 1, 3 raised to 1, 4 raised to 1, this is increasing ratio. In this case, curve will be concave. If ratio is same, like 1 raised to 1, 1 raised to 1, 1 raised to 1, then curve will be a straight line. But if ratio is diminishing, like 3 raised to 1, 2 raised to 1, 1 raised to 1, then curve will be convex to the origin due to specialization of labor. Now next is change in resources. If resources can increase or decrease, if resources can increase, then PPC curve will shift to the rightward or right hand side. PPC can be shift either to the right hand side or left hand side. If resources growth is possible and if there is an increase in resources, then production of both commodities can also increase simultaneously. In this case, PPC curve will shift parallel to the rightward. And if there is a decrease in resources or decrease, then there will be decrease in production of both the goods. Then this curve will shift to the leftward or left hand side. So in first diagram, increase in resources, in case of this, PPC shift to the rightward. And in case of decrease in resources, PPC shift to the leftward. Next is economic growth. Economic growth can also be described with the help of a PPC curve. Outward shift of the curve present economic growth. It shows economic growth. If this curve shifts to the right hand side or outward shift of the production possibility curve, it represents economic growth. An outward shift means that it is possible to produce both the goods in large quantity without decreasing the production of the other. In this case, curve will shift to the right hand side. And if we are underutilizing the resources, then this curve will shift to the left hand side. Next is public goods versus private good. What is the meaning of these public goods and private goods, and how we can differentiate between these two types of goods. Public goods are those goods which are provided by government and for whole community, and there is no one excluded from the consumption of that community. So the benefit derived from pure public goods can't be confined solely to those who have paid for it. Indeed, non-payers can also enjoy the benefits of consumption at no financial cost. But private goods are those goods which can be used by that person who are paying for that commodity. If a person is not paying, that can't be used that private good. So private good, in this case, consumer can be excluded from the consumption of goods if they do not pay the seller for the good. Public goods consumption by one consumer does not restrict consumption by other consumers. It means all the person, all the human beings, all consumers can use public goods, and no one can exclude anyone who are paying or who are not paying. All people can use public goods like street light, roads, bridges, dams, uh, police protection. All these goods, park, these are known as public goods, which are available at free of cost. And if a person is paying for that or not paying for that, all can use. Collectively, consumption can be possible in case of public goods. But when a good is used to or purchased by an individual, that leaves less of the good available for others. So in case of private good, you can restrict the consumption for the other person. But in case of public goods, you can't restrict consumption by the other consumers. Public goods consumption is also called collective consumption. The collective supply of a public good for all means that it can't be rejected by people. A good example is like a defense system or flood defense project. And private good example is if a consumer does not like the good, that can be rejected. But public goods can't be rejected by people, and public goods can be collectively used by whole consumers. Next is the features of public goods are non-rival goods, non-excludable goods, non-rejectable goods, and free riding. These are the main four features of public goods. Public goods are non-rivalries. It means there is no competition to use these public goods, and each and everyone can use public goods. Non-excludable, you can't exclude anyone to get benefit from using public goods. Non-rejectable, you know that public goods can't be rejectable by any person. And free riding, those person who are not paying for that commodity, they can also enjoy that public good. So free riding is also exist in case of public goods. These are the main four features of public goods. Next is difference between public goods and private goods. Public goods are those goods in which a person's consumption reduces the amount of the goods available to the other, and it is always exclusively consumed. But public goods are those goods in which a person's consumption would not reduce the amount available to the others, and it can be shared by all country people. So, in case of public goods, shared consumption is possible, and externality in consumption also possible in public goods. Public goods are the main causes of market failure, but private goods are not the main causes of market failure. Next is microeconomics and macroeconomics. What do you understand by these two concepts, micro and macro? Microeconomics always studies individual things. Micro always deals with individual units of the economy, but macro deals with whole units of the economy. Micro means small, macro means large or big. It is clear by its name that micro always analyzed individual units of the economy like individual buyer, individual seller, price of single commodity, or individual firm and industry, all individual things we study only in branch of microeconomics. And if we want to study in totality or in aggregate, then we will choose this branch of macroeconomics. Macroeconomics always studies whole income of the country like national income, total employment in the economy. It analyzes whole employment or total employment level in the economy. It deals with aggregates or totality. It studies overall price level, but microeconomics studies only individual price of the commodity. Microeconomics deals with demand and supply of goods, but macroeconomics always studies aggregate demand or total demand, and aggregate supply means total supply. So micro, it is clear by its name, it deals with always single or individual units of the economy. So microeconomics deals with individual or single units of the economy like individual firm, individual buyer, individual seller, and industry, price of single commodity in aggregates. So it deals with national income and total employment, inflation, balance of payment, foreign exchange rate, total saving, total investment, and business cycles, uh, fiscal policy, monetary policy, interest rate, all are the main issues of macroeconomics. Next is inductive reasoning versus deductive reasoning. No matter how realistic that sound in many fields, there can only be fact and evidence that lead you to certain conclusion. There are two types of reasoning. One is inductive and second is deductive. Inductive reasoning is that reasoning in which someone who uses inductive reasoning makes specific observation and then draw a general conclusion. It means if we move from specific to general, that is called inductive reasoning. And if we move from general to specific, deductive reasoning is a specific conclusion follows a general theory. It means both are interrelated with each other, but there is a one specific difference in between of inductive and deductive reasoning. Inductive reasoning always move from specific to general, but deductive reasoning is inverse that inductive. It follows from general theory to specific observation. Next is inductive reasoning and deductive reasoning. We can give some examples to explain this concept. Like inductive reasoning is the act of making generalized conclusion based off on specific scenarios. And deductive reasoning is the act of backing up a generalized statement with specific scenario. So what are the examples of inductive and deductive reasoning? Determine when you should leave for work based on traffic patterns. Rolling out a new accounting process based on the way users interact with the software. Deciding on incentive plans based on an employee's survey. Changing a meeting time or format based on participants' energy level. All these are the examples of inductive reasoning in which we are moving from specific to general. And in case of deductive reasoning, we are moving towards general to specific, developing a marketing plan that will be effective for a specific audience, designing the floor plan and layout of a shop to maximize sale, determining the most efficient ways to communicate with clients. Here, clients are specific, and determining the most efficient way to communicate, that is general. Planning out a budget to get the highest output from your investment is specific, and plan out for a budget is general. So, general to specific, if we move from that thing, that is deductive reasoning. Now, next is equilibrium. What is the meaning of equilibrium? Equilibrium means a state of position in which demand and supply for a given good or services are in balance. So, equilibrium is a position where no one wants to move from achieving that situation. So, equilibrium is a state of position in which the supply and demand for a given good or service are in balance. For example, this here demand curve is downward sloping and supply curve is upward sloping, where both curve intersect each other. Equilibrium price is determined OP, and equilibrium quantity will also determine OQ. And equilibrium always determined with the help of demand and supply curve forces. Demand curve is always downward sloping curve because it shows inverse relationship between price and demand. And supply is related with producer always want to gain maximum profit, so it shows direct and positive relationship between price and supply. That's why supply curve is always upward sloping curve. Where both curve intersect each other, equilibrium point is determined, and at this equilibrium point we can determine equilibrium price and quantity also. Now, positive statement and normative statement, what is the difference between this? Positive and normative statement and economics both are related with different concepts, both are different concepts but related with economics. In positive economics or positive statement, we study only what is the problem, what was the problem, what will be the problem. For example, minimum wage law causes unemployment. And normative statement is that statement which tells us the way how to overcome this problem. The government should raise the minimum wage. In this, we study about what to do, or what ought to be, or what should be. If the problem is related with what is, what was, and what will be, that is positive. And if we are studying about the thing that what should be or what ought to be, that is normative. Positive economics always deals with what is past, present, and future. But normative economics deals with what should be and what ought to be. Or they are just opinion. Normative economics tells us just opinion. But positive economics not necessarily true statement. It may be true or may be false. But both are interrelated with each other, because if we want to solve any problem, then we must have to know about that problem. So positive economics tells us the problem, and normative economics tells us the solution of that problem. Now next is stock and flow. You know that stock is related with point of time, and flow is a concept which is related with point period of time. Stock means in a tank, if we store water, that is called stock. And if we using water from tap, that is called flow. National wealth, water in a tank, inventories, capital, that is stock examples. And income, national income, water in a stream, water in a tap, change in inventories, change in capital, that is called flow. So stock is related with point of time and flow is related with period of time. Economics and laws, there are so many laws and economics in analysis of law applying methods of economics. Economics concepts are used to explain the effects of laws to access the legal rules and economically efficient and how to predict which legal rules will be promulgated. Economics methodology tells us about the scientific methods to test theories and which forms law and principles. There are different theories like Keynesian, classical, supply side, law of demand, law of supply, and other theories. Now we can conclude from the above discussion that economics always explain the behavior of human beings and in different units like consumer, producer, household, firms, government as a whole when they are faced with a problem of scarcity. Scarcity and problem of choice both are interrelated with each other. And scarcity causes center problems of the economy like what to produce, how to produce, and for whom to produce. And we can solve these center problems with the help of production possibility curve. So in today's session, we have discussed about what is the meaning of economics, introduction of economics and economy. Next topic we will discuss in next session. Thank you.